A very good morning to you from Souk News, Lagos, Nigeria. How have things been? Okay, the last 24 hours in Nigeria has been very exciting. When you talk about hitting the ground running, that is the Minister of the FCT, Zonwuke, who had a meeting yesterday, just hours after he took the oath of office. He said a lot of things about the need to keep to the master plan of the FCT. After all, that is our #1 representation in Nigeria, being the capital of the country. And apart from that, we'll take a look at issues around security of lives and property in Nigeria today. So, my guests on the show today will be men of the uniform, gentlemen of the uniform, I want to call them. And these and many more will be part of the mix today, being Tuesday, the 22nd of August, 2023. My name is Ayo Jimmy. I welcome you on board. Or in case you're wondering, where is Blessing Aichi? She is standing by the newsroom for news updates. Good morning, Blessing.
Good morning, Ayo. Yes, I am not missing. Welcome to the morning news update on Sick News. We will daily bring you fresh perspective on the world of business, development, economy, and policy. I am Blessing Aichi. Good morning to you. And now straight into the news, beginning from Nigeria. Hours after President Bola Tinubu tasked his 45 newly appointed ministers to meet the lofty expectations of the Nigerian populace at the inauguration ceremony held at the conference hall of the presidential villa on Monday, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has in his first press conference as minister issued a stern warning to property owners in Abuja who were violating the city's master plan, saying buildings constructed in unauthorized areas will be demolished. He emphasized that regardless of the offender's status, whether a minister or an ambassador, any structure erected in prohibited zones will be demolished. Wike also extended his warning to landowners who have encroached on designated green spaces by constructing properties, stressing that any attempt to convert such properties into commercial establishments such as restaurants would not be tolerated on effective waste management. Nyesom Wike has this to say.
Abuja is turning to be like a slum city. Sanitation is bad. So we cannot allow it. We cannot allow it. Sanitation, look at refuse everywhere. Those who are paying for refuse collection, what are they doing? So we must also sit down to look at differently ways of waste management or waste.
It is also promised to see to it that Abuja roads get powered with street lights, highlighting his commitment to ensuring that the city's layout and aesthetics are maintained in accordance with regulations. The federal government of Nigeria is collaborating with Nasarawa State to establish a local lithium processing policy. This initiative aims to process lithium mined in Nasarawa State within the country instead of exporting it raw. The National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, is spearheading this effort, aligning with its goal to encourage processing of strategic solid minerals and local battery production for electric vehicles and energy storage. Nasarawa State has substantial lithium deposits and is attracting interest from companies with a potential processing capacity of up to 6,000 tons per day. The state governor envisions a lithium rush similar to a gold rush, as global lithium prices have surged from $6,000 to $78,000 per metric ton. NASENI has welcomed companies, including those from China, to collaborate on lithium processing projects. The agency is coordinating with other governmental bodies and investment institutions to further this endeavor, proposing the use of NASENI's solar facility in Gora for the production of the mineral resource and battery production, considering its proximity to raw materials. Governor Sule, who expressed the need for coordinated efforts to establish Nigeria as a significant lithium producer, proposed a Lithium Rush Summit as part of the state's economic plans and pledged support for NASENI's endeavors. The collaboration between the federal government, Nasarawa State and Naseni reflects a strategic approach to tapping into the growing demand for lithium and battery technologies. Away from that, global financial services firm JP Morgan has reported that Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve is estimated to be around $3.7 billion, significantly lower than the officially reported figure of $30 billion. JP Morgan explained in its report on Nigeria that this lower estimate is due to larger currency swaps and borrowings against the forex reserve. The assumptions JP Morgan made to arrive at a $3.7 billion forex reserve estimate include adding $5.0 billion in IMF special drawing rights to the external reserves, adjusting for key forex liability lines such as forex forwards, securities lending, and currency swaps. Despite the shock of the lower estimate, JP Morgan believes that Nigeria's central bank can withstand the pressure accompanying the low forex reserve, stating that profits from swap arrangements between the CBN and commercial banks can help sustain the rate. Moreover, JP Morgan predicts that Nigeria's headline inflation, driven by rising food prices and other impacts of the president's reforms, could reach 28% by the end of the year, indicating the potential challenges the country's economy may face in the coming months. The solutions require a balanced mix of macroeconomic management, policy reforms, regulatory clarity, and effective communication to rebuild investor confidence, stabilize the financial markets, and promote sustainable economic growth in Nigeria. A pharmaceutical company has been launched in Benue State, a Middle-Belt region of Nigeria. This investment signifies the commitment of the state government to combating proliferation of counterfeit medicines, officially unveiled by the state governor, Hyacinth, earlier at a recent event. The former Director General of NAFDAC, Dr. Paul Ori, who was present, urged government entities and individuals to support such initiatives, noting that the absence of indigenous pharmaceutical companies in the region and the risk of over-reliance on foreign drug suppliers. Meanwhile, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has issued a stern warning to food and drug manufacturing companies that it will no longer renew licenses for any company that does not establish a post-marketing surveillance unit, emphasizing the importance of vigilance in the food industry, particularly cereals that may enter the market as unbranded products due to improper disposal. NAFDAC warns that such products pose significant health risk to the consumers. The Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, flagged this warning during the agency's Food Safety and Applied Nutrition Directorate stakeholders engagement with food sector operators in Lagos. She also sternly warned that NAFDAC would no longer tolerate poorly destroyed, expired, or stolen products making their way into the market through scavengers at waste dump sites, potentially endangering innocent consumers, especially children. She asked companies to promptly inform NAFDAC of any suspicions of product adulteration so that swift action like raids and arrests could be made when necessary. Before we move from Nigeria, let's go on a quick break. Stay tuned. Away from Nigeria, in view of the concerns about indecent content and the role played by some apps in facilitating the dissemination of horrific messages by terrorists, Somalia's Minister of Communications, Jama Hassan Khalif, has announced a ban on the popular video app TikTok, along with messaging platform Telegram and the betting website 1xBet. In his press release, Khalif stressed the need for internet companies to cease the use of these applications due to their exploitation by terrorists and immoral groups for disseminating disturbing images and misinformation to the public. This action follows President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed's recent declaration of preparations to launch a military offensive against the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab, with the goal of eliminating their presence within the next 5 months. The situation shows the importance of responsible business practices, regulatory awareness, and ethical considerations in the tech industry, because businesses that prioritize these aspects are more likely to navigate challenges successfully and maintain long-term viability. Moving ahead now to other stories. As we move now to other stories, Libya's central bank has become a single institution again, nearly 10 years after it was split in two because of the country's civil war. It had been divided, like the country's government, into rival branches in the east and the west. Its division made it difficult for Libya to have a coherent monetary policy and contributed to the sharp fall in its currency, the dinar. While the reunification of the central bank is a positive step, it needs to be complemented by efforts to address the root causes of the civil conflict and establish a comprehensive framework for economic development and governance. Elsewhere, a government source from Saudi Arabia has rejected allegations made by Human Rights Watch regarding the killing of numerous Ethiopian migrants by Saudi border guards. The Saudi government source, in a statement to Agence France Presse, categorically refuted the accusations, deeming them groundless and unsupported by credible sources. The Human Rights Watch HRW report, titled "They Fired on Us Like Rain," contains graphic testimony from migrants who say they were shot at and sometimes targeted with explosive weapons by Saudi police and soldiers on Yemen's rugged northern border with Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government said it took the allegations seriously, but strongly rejected a United Nations characterization that the killings were systematic or large-scale. Still in the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates UAE has affirmed its commitment to abiding by the sanctions imposed by its Western allies against Russia due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This stance comes as a response to a report by the Wall Street Journal alleging that the UAE has been facilitating Russian financial activities. A UAE official has clarified that the country has established stringent protocols to deal with both individuals and companies under sanctions, emphasizing that they remain in close contact with the United States and the European Union to assess the global economic implications of the conflict. Emirati banks have been actively monitoring compliance with the sanctions imposed on Russia to ensure strict adherence to international law. And turning now to Pakistan, where the President Arif Alvi has declined to sign into law 2 bills granting authorities enhanced powers to prosecute individuals for offenses against the state and military. The move has generated controversy, with the law ministry asserting that the decision is unconstitutional. These bills had already received approval from both houses of Pakistan's parliament. President Alvi, a member of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party led by former Prime Minister Imran Khan, opposes the coalition government that enacted these bills. He publicly voiced his disagreement with the legislation, noting that he had sought confirmation that the bills had been returned, but discovered that his staff did not comply with his wishes. He offered an apology to those who might be affected by his decision. But the Ministry of Law and Justice expressed deep concern over Alvi's refusal to sign the bills, asserting that the president has 2 options under the Constitution: to give his assent or refer the matter back to Parliament with specific observations or objections. We move now to the U.S., where former U.S. President Donald Trump, the leading contender for the Republican nomination in the 2024 presidential race, has officially confirmed that he will not participate in the upcoming Republican primary debates. Trump had long hinted at this decision, arguing that his high recognition among the American public made it unnecessary to provide his Republican rivals with a platform to challenge him. Recent polling showed Trump as the preferred candidate for 62% of Republican voters, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis trailing at 16%, while other contenders garnered less than 10% support. Instead of participating in the debate, Trump plans to upstage his rivals by releasing a taped interview with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Trump's absence from the debate could shift the spotlight onto DeSantis, potentially making him the target of engagement from other candidates seeking to position themselves as the primary alternative to the former president, like former Vice President Mike Pence, Trump's former United Nations ambassador Nikki Haley, and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. Finally, Guatemala's presidential election has delivered an inspiring victory for anti-corruption champion Bernardo Arevalo, reflecting the nation's resolute desire for change in the face of past leadership failures to combat widespread corruption. With an impressive 58% of the votes and 98% of ballots counted, Arevalo secured a clear mandate, while his opponent Sandra Torres garnered 36%, according to the TSE national election body. This decisive win marks a turning point in Guatemala's political landscape, inspiring hope for a brighter future. Blanco Alfaro, the head judge of TSC, declared Arevalo of the center-left Semilla Seed movement the virtual winner and called for immediate national dialogue to heal the country's deep-seated political divisions. President Alejandro Giammattei extended his warm congratulations to Arevalo on social platform X and extended an invitation for an orderly transition once the election results are formally certified. It's a wrap on the news update this morning. I am Blessing H. Stay tuned for in-depth analysis or an early exchange. Thanks for staying tuned. Let's have a review of some of the stories in the news. So we'll begin this morning with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, in his first press conference, has issued a stern warning to property owners in Abuja who are violating the city's master plan, saying buildings constructed in unauthorized areas will be demolished. It also, Samanze is here this morning and is looking very good. I like to compliment him when he's wearing something looking very bright, and I want to take you away. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Blessing.
Good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
I hope nobody is
good
jealous,
morning.
Because I think somebody wants to say something. Anyway.
I just want to say good morning, welcome on board, and thanks for looking sharp and bright today also.
Maybe when you look like him, I'll take you away too.
Oh, it's okay, it's fine.
It also, someone says, Director of Policy Research, African Development Studies Center. All right, now to the Minister of the FCT. This seems like the first go-to for every minister of the FCT since the time of Erifai as Minister of the FCT, demolishing houses built on unauthorized areas. But the question is, who authorized those buildings at first? How did those structures come into play? Why did the government or whoever was in charge of the FCT ministry allow buildings to start from ground up to a certain level, and then a minister comes to say, I'm going to demolish all the structures? It doesn't.
Well, congratulations to all the members of cabinet are now sworn in, and I hope that everybody had hit the ground running, which was what the president told us during the campaign, that he was going to hit the ground running. And I think that was what was happening yesterday when the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory read the Royal Art in that first press briefing. You see, we live in an environment where a lot of things are done by individuals, non-state actors who become so very powerful, and they can take on even the authority of the state. So asking who approves it, some of these things may not even be approved. And some people are so powerful that they can secure manner and kind of approval. That said, I think the mood really for us as a nation should really go beyond talking, that people can quietly go into action and actually start to act. You mentioned El-Rufai first coming as the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, pulling down structure to ensure that the master plan was reformed. And that did not come without criticism, because a lot of people felt that El-Rufai destroy some other people's property, take over some other people's property that he gave to his cronies. And these issues are still festering. They could actually be part of the reason why a lot of people wanted to ask questions why his crony was to take place. So these are very critical national issues that we need to tread softly. I don't have issues if people have violated the city plan and then they have to pay for it. But we will advise that the Minister for FCT should tread with caution, and then, of course, also avoid selective justice.
Okay, we had a chat some time ago, that should be in May, with the head of the marketing board in Abuja, and he provided an insight into why El-Rufai did what he did while he was there as the Minister of the FCT. He used the case of, you will say, market, for instance, that had maybe, I don't have the exact numbers now, maybe like you had 350 authorized, outlets there for displaying your wares, and after a while, people had like over 1,500 unauthorized, containers, metal containers here and there. And you see, when you look at, let us not forget that we are talking about our federal capital here, which is supposed to be a microcosm of Nigeria as a country here. So if we can abuse the master plan of our country's microcosm, then it means it's a reflection to the outsider of what we do on a larger scale. With that, I want to agree with the Minister of the FCT. But then, body language also matters in governance. If the head is seen as being weak, trust me, nothing you say will matter. It's just backing. So okay, it's good that he actually came out, blazing that way. But like Idahosa said, I would have expected a softer opening remark. I mean, it was his first day in office. There was no need for me to the way I see it, to get people jiggle around you. We know what you can do. We know who you are as a person. At least a softer welcome should have been the approach. Then we'll get to business later. But, well, if this is well intended for the country, so be it.
You talked about abuse of the structure of Abuja, or the master plan. And I asked earlier, how did we get to that point? Why do we have to demolish? Because this is not the first time such warnings will be given, or we're seeing that buildings that government says, or government agencies says, were unauthorized will be demolished. So how did it get to that point? Because I know that when people want to start building, or when they acquire property, there are processes to these things. There are clearances that are done with the Ministry of Land and Housing. So is it that people intentionally skip this, or they get approvals that are later upturned?
Yeah, okay. I think the point here is what we have seen happen is that you go to an approving authority, and the bureaucracy gives you an approval based on the document you submitted. And there are very few on-site visits to actually see what is going on at the places where these constructions are going on. Maybe because of the size of bureaucracy, they are not able to cover every place where approvals are given. You see, because when you have a city design, you have set out some places where you have to have green, you set out some places where market should be. You've set out places where you feel commercial activity can happen and residential areas. And so once you give approval and people bring documents to you and you take that document, but what you see is that people go back where they are supposed to be residential, they start to build commercial structures. And of course, when buildings are going on, you are not likely to know what is happening around that place. So these are some of the issues. And then of course, you know that in bureaucracy, somebody give an approval today, people don't go to work and start to be reading and looking at what kind of approval is there. So what people do with approval is a different ball game altogether. But again, this is to speak to the lawlessness that we find in the environment, that people don't put to use whatever thing that they are given, and then you want to see. You see, just like you see, for example, in Lagos, where constructions are going, there are laws, for example, that gives you that if you're going to build a house and you're going to get close to the road, there's a certain diameter you have to observe, which they call the setbacks.
Setback, yeah.
And this is to forestall challenges when, of course, expansion may be needed. But not many people respect the rule of the setbacks. They're all there. And these are the things that we face. And I think it's to speak to us, our consciences, so that when we are going to do things, we must put the law into context so that when people start to act, we don't regard them as witch hunting, as people are saying. And then, of course, we don't cry foul and say, oh, somebody's property is being demolished. Yeah. Because in the first place, it's an illegality. And once you put down illegality, and I think in the face of the law, you are justified.
One of those things he also mentioned that was of concern to me was the case of land speculators. You approach the government or the FCT ministry or whatever, and they sell to you a piece of property, maybe at 200,000 naira now. Instead of going there to build on it, you refuse to, not because you don't have capacity to, but you know that land appreciates over time. Land that was sold to you for you to build on, you now wait for a while and you start selling at hundreds of millions. He said that. Now,
but is that a crime?
I was about asking, is this a crime? Maybe.
I think it is. You see, there's a tenure and validity for C of O's. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. That when the state give you a C of O, it's for a certain tenure. And you are expected within a certain time period to be able to develop that property. Now, once you are not able to develop the property, of course, even though you have the C of O of that land, the law says in some states it's 2 years.
Okay.
After 2 years, they give you a property, you are not able to develop that property, the C of O expires.
But we have these days a lot of persons
going into
real estate investment. So how does that balance out? Because people want to put money into property that they do not actually have need for, but because of inflation, they don't want to keep money in the bank. So if someone buys a property, it then means that the person is forced within a limited period of time to resell that property.
No, but you understand that, of course, in the elementary economics, land is the major factor in production. So when you put your land on hold, what you're doing is actually putting production on hold, and you're also stagnating the economy. That's what it means. So you can't speculate with land because it's so fundamental to the development and the economy of any nation. So government guides this, and this is why land is not private property. It's actually owned by the states, because it is fundamental to production and to wealth creation.
All right, so in case you didn't know, now you know. When you're buying land, you need to think very well for how long you want to keep it. How long are you allowed to keep the land before you resell or do whatever it is you want to do it, and ensure that you get the right approval and you comply with the approval you're giving within that limit. And I think also that those at the agencies or the authorities that issue this approval should move out of the office sometimes. On-site inspection is also necessary so that where people have failed to perhaps do their job or not completely do their job, they don't pass on the liability to somebody else. We'll move on to another issue where the federal government of Nigeria is collaborating with Nasarawa State to establish a local lithium processing policy. Now, the initiative aims to process lithium mined in Nasarawa within the country instead of exporting it raw. We talked about development of the solid mineral industry sometime last week, and we talked about how we are still at the basis doing just exploration and having the raw minerals, and then we export still like we do for oil, exploring crude, and then we still export out of Nigeria to refine. But this time around, in partnership, the federal government in partnership with Nasarawa State wants to begin the processing of lithium. What's your take on that, Ayo?
Well, I think for me, it is where we should have been. For a long time now, we've been complaining that we are exporting raw. And one of the indices by which they measure whether you are a developed economy or a developing one is how much of your own raw materials do you process into finished goods? Okay, lithium, from my elementary chemistry, is one of the components for making batteries. If I don't know any other thing, I think I still remember that one. So, and if there is this lithium rush, according to this particular news,
similar to Good Rush.
Now, this is the time for us to take advantage. Let's not forget that some benefits come, economic benefits that come with, establishing a processing unit in your locale. Talk about employment opportunities for the people of that particular neighborhood, because we still have the local contents, initiative. Now, when you do this, now you are bringing in foreign direct investors and you are building your own economy. Enough of us exporting just raw materials only. And that is just why I said, for me, it is a but
now,
they're even saying it is still a policy level anyway. The journey is still long. That's where I say it.
It's okay.
Why are you laughing?
I am laughing because you see, it's very easy for us to speculate on what should be done, especially when it has to do with this area. If you had listened to Maguire very well the other day, he spoke about how expensive it is to process solid minerals. And of course, not many people within here have, one, the capacity, and then of course, the resource it takes to actually do this processing. And this requires you to actually have to encourage people from the other side to come to invest in this environment. Now, but the challenge that we face as a people, will foreigners want to set up factory in this area that is so regarded as security risk? And I think this is where we have to first of all put our acts together. Now, when you look at the neighborhood of Nasarawa, Taraba, Benue State, it has become a hotbed of crisis in recent time. And until security is restored to that area, it will be very difficult to find people who want to come and stake their money, and then they will not be able to take profit out at the end of the day. So this is the real challenge, because we don't have the capacity, we don't have what it takes to be able to process these things here. And so people will prefer to take it away raw, which is less riskier than really setting up factories that, of course, security challenge may not allow to function. And I think this is the area where, of course, Mr. President really need to work hard. We can say all that we can for foreign direct investment to come into this country that will actually stimulate the growth which we all deserve. Then we must be very serious to have a security strategy that will ensure that we are safe enough for foreign investments.
All right, on the foreign scene, the former U.S. President Donald Trump, the leading contender for the Republican nomination in the 2024 presidential race, has officially confirmed that he will not participate in the upcoming Republican primary debate. Now, he's said that he's hinted at his decision, arguing that his high recognition among the American public made it unnecessary to provide his Republican rivals with a platform to challenge him. So, what's your take on Trump refusing to attend the Republican primary debate, but instead he wants to release an interview that was done with a Fox presenter, a Fox News host, Tucker Carlson, instead of attending the debate? Is that Trump playing his cards too far?
Well, you really can't say Trump is playing his card too far. That is the Trump brand itself. Trump has his own ways. He believes in himself a lot. I remember that when it came at this particular point in his first time in office, I mean the only time he has done so far in office, one question was asked. The very first question: is there anyone among you here who would not be satisfied with whoever emerges as the Republican candidate after this primary? And Trump said, yes, it's either me or no one else. So right from the word go, Trump courted controversy. And his campaign and his entire presidency thrived on controversy. He has this relation with his own, I wouldn't call it ego. He believes so much in himself, and the Trump card won for him. Now, this is very strategic. He said he will not honor his co-contestants by being on the same stage because he believes he is more popular. This, for me, is a test of his popularity, and it is left to the American citizens to determine how popular he is. In some climes, this will be seen as an affront. You are taking your popularity too far. You are believing too much in yourself. But in America, hey, anything can happen.
Also, do you see it as being strategic, Trump wanting to avoid certain questions that could come from the debates?
Trump is just being strategic, and in the last 6 or so years, him being in the front role of the American politics, a lot has happened, and Trump is one enemy that not even just American, that the world don't want to see. And I think this is because of his position on moving to national interest and breaking the bond of this multilateralism, and then, of course, having one world, as it were. You know, this idea of American for the Americans really was a threat to so many people, and even to the Americans. That said, you see, what it is that, you see, the Democrats over the last 2 years have been on Trump case. Not even the Republicans. And if you look at the bias of the mainline media in the US against Trump in his first tenure, and all through the campaign, now exposing himself to the media in a debate will really be a huge issue. But he already caught the support of the Republicans. And so if they are to go to Congress tomorrow and they are going to vote, of course the Republicans will vote Trump. And so which is more important? To get embarrassed by the media or to secure the nomination of his party to run for election? And I think he has taken the best option, and that is to stay out of the media and then, of course, focus on the campaign to pick up the Republican ticket.
And I think it's a smart one, too, the way he played it. He played it on the ground of popularity and confidence. So people will think, oh, Trump is feeling too confident. He's actually not wanting to partake in the debate because he feels there's no point. But actually, it seems like it's a smart move to do rather than everybody fire shots at him, particularly considering the number of cases that he has, the Capitol riot and all of the matters that may be thrown at him at the debate. We'll leave it here and see what happens regarding the 2024 presidential race in the U.S. We've got a quick break now, and we'll return to look at security issues in Nigeria. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Thank you for still staying tuned to Early Exchange on Souk News. Since the establishment of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps by Act number 2 of 2003, the Corps has done quite a lot for the country. Let's not forget, of recent, the NSCDC was responsible for rescuing over 1,000 kidnapped victims. Then it prevented over 100 cases of vandalism. At the same time, the Corps responded to over 100 natural disasters and even educated over 1 million people on disaster risk reduction. These and many more highlight what the NSCDC has been doing for us as a country. So today we're looking at the place of community involvement and maintenance of peace and security, the role of Nigeria Civil Defense Corps. Okay, and who else do we speak to than Isiaka Usman, who is the Lagos State Commandant of the NSCDC? Good morning. Good morning, Ishak.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning. Thank you for being part of the show today. All right. We are looking at the place of community involvement in maintaining peace and security of lives and property. And we do know that in this regard, the NSCDC plays a key role. Could you please educate us more on the essence of community participation in security issues in a country like Nigeria?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you for having me on this program. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, as a paramilitary agency of government, is also saddled with the mandate of national disaster management, protection of critical national asset and infrastructure of government, registration and training, licensing, monitoring of activities of private guard companies. To do this, you agree with me that the vast number of infrastructure of government in Nigeria now presupposes that there are a lot of things that have to be done. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has deployment in every nook and cranny of Nigeria. 179 local governments across the country. These personnel are deployed to monitor and protect. However, the number of personnel available to do this cannot be adequate. We require the support of the community to effectively protect these critical national assets. And so in our efforts, we try to engage communities to partner with us so that they can give us the necessary information to enable us to protect this infrastructure. Thank you.
So how does the NSCDC collaborate with the communities? You said you try to engage with them. In what way does this engagement come?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. First of all, we embark on enlightenment programs. We deploy our personnel to various communities to enlighten them about the activities of the Corps and the need for them to partner with us and to give us information that will enable us to protect their infrastructure. We also provide ICT solution, which the members of the public can leverage on to engage us whenever the need arises. We have the N-Alert system, which is available in Play Store, which can be downloaded so that with this app, members of the public can always alert any security agencies, not just Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, on any impending danger or threat to their lives and property, and we shall be there to give them the necessary support.
Okay, yes, you did mention the fact that you have educated members of the public to ensure that they can alert you when there are dangers. Now, how can neighborhoods establish, communication channels to share information about activities that they find suspicious? You said that apart from using, technology to alert you, at the level of the community, what can neighborhoods do so that they can share information that can enhance security?
Thank you very much. We always encourage neighborhood to come together and establish a kind of vigilante activities, because they are the one on ground. They know the peculiarities of their environment. So whenever they come together, they will be able to monitor situation in their area, and then when the need arises, they can collaborate with us. When we have such organization, such neighborhood organization, we now like to partner with them. We give them our contacts to the nearest formation in their locality, so that whenever there is need arise, they can always communicate with us. We'll share information, and then if there is any threat to their lives or property, we'll be always be there on ground to support them.
Now, has the NSCDC encountered any challenge in trying to ensure cooperation from the communities towards security?
Actually, we don't have much challenges communicating with the community. We see we are a grassroots organization who are born out of the public, so we always relate well with them. In every area we try to engage members of the community, they always welcome us. They see us as partner in progress. We are civil defense. We are civil in our approach. So they always see us as partners, and they are always willing to collaborate with us.
Okay, now let's look at the use of social media by NSCDC. We know that any organization or any agency of government that wants to thrive very well today will leverage on that. How much of social media is NSCDC using to sensitize the public on how it operates and how they can collaborate?
Thank you very much for that question. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has social media handles through which it used to disseminate its activities and also encourage, get feedback from members of the public. We have Facebook handle, we have Twitter, we have TikTok, and the rest of them. And with these handles, we do disseminate all our activities to members of the public. We also take feedback from them, which enable us to re-strategize our operations to in tune with the needs of the society.
All right, let's talk about collaboration with other agencies. The NSCDC is not designed to operate alone. So how does the NSCDC ensure collaboration, and at what level does this collaboration come in?
Thank you very much. You will agree with me that the myriad of security challenges Nigeria is facing right now require the collaboration among security agencies. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, being one of the paramilitary organizations in Nigeria, always work hand in hand with all sister agencies available in the country to ensure the protection of lives and property across the nation. We collaborate with, the collaboration is at all levels, from the strategic level through operational level up to tactical level. At the strategic level, our heads are interacting with heads of other service chiefs across the country, both the armed forces and other paramilitary agencies, to ensure a seamless operation so that together we can nip the security challenges in the country in the bud. At the operational level, all the commanders, theater commanders, are working in synergy. If you look at the joint task forces that are operating in various parts of the country, you see that all agencies are working together. The Nigerian police, the armed forces, who are also supported in the internal security operations, are all with us. We are working hand in glove without any crisis at all. We share information.
Okay. There seems to be a glitch there. We'll go back to that interview much later. Now, he was talking about the extent of collaboration between, among all the military and the paramilitary forces that we have. Yes, which is a good thing to know. I was about asking him about the challenge of, ensuring safety of lives and property in Lagos as a case study, because I know that with the Lagos population and the influx that we have on a daily basis, it's a bit challenging for many of them. But the good thing is that at the level of the civil defense, we see them When I say we, I mean people in the neighborhood see them as one of us. I mean, we see them as part of us because they have this civil face. Even the uniform, some are, joke is friendly to look at, and we have some of them. There that okay. I learned that the commercial is back. All right, so let's just go on. I want to ask you to speak to the security issues in Lagos State. Your agency is the one that is interfacing majorly with people at the community level. How challenging is it to maintain security in Lagos State? Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. The security challenges in Lagos borders on gang activities. Majorly, we see young persons grouping together and then trying to harass members of that community. This borders on the fact that we have high level of unemployment in the state, and that is why we have the parents and community are distancing themselves from the activities of these young persons, and that is why the thing is now becoming unsurmountable. However, we have been meeting with the various community leaders to encourage them to monitor their youth, the world around them, and then also caution them, so that when when these people are engaging in some of this activity, they can always form us, and together we collaborate and make sure that we nip it in the bud. Another major issue
we're having a challenge with the audio from... Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, the audio from Call Marshal Ishaq Alfadari, Lagos State's commandant of the Nigeria Civil Defense Corps, is quite poor, and we'll continue with that when it gets better. But Ayo, that we do have some local security groups, initiatives of some communities. How can they ensure a smooth collaboration with the NSCDC officials? Because we have some of them set up just to ensure that, they have local policing in those areas. And some go as far as apprehending criminals within the local authorities. So what should be the mode of operation and collaboration of some of these local vigilante groups, as we'll call them, and the NSCDC or other security agencies?
I think it is important for us to know that security is the task for all of us, whether you are wearing uniform or not, whether you are enrolled in a recognized, security outfit or not. We all have to pay our own price. We all have to, create and contribute our own quota to ensuring that we have a safe, community. At the level of the local vigilante groups, from my own experience, from what I know in my neighborhood, I know that there is cordiality, there is an there is a handshake with members of the NSCDC, because young people feed them off. They give them information that they think are vital. If you perceive any threat somewhere, the NSCDC is open to, you know, interaction from the local community because they interface with the community on a local level. And so I have never really seen a friction between members of a community and NSCDC officials, even though they come around here and every now and then. So for me, I think the interaction, the dynamics of the interaction between local communities and NSCDC is very, very okay for now. And they are friendly. That's the important thing. And when you have a security outfit that is friendly, it makes it easier for, you know, people to relate with them, and things go on smoothly. But I think we should just take a breather now, and when we come back, we will probably reestablish connection with the commercial, and we will continue with the talk of security at the local level, talking about community participation. Don't go anywhere. Property in Nigeria, and we've been talking to Usman, who is the Lagos State Commandant of NSCDC. We had a bit of, you know, audio glitch there, and I am sure he should be back very soon. And before we went on break, I was talking to you about the fact that I was responding to your question, and I did establish that because of the friendly nature of the NSCDC, people at the local level are able to, these vigilante groups are able to interface with them, and their doors are always open. But then, what I would have loved to see more is the seamlessness of passing information from us to them. Of course, the commercial said that, okay, there are lines we can call, there are apps they can use, but how many young people, or how many of these members of vigilante groups have an idea of what an app actually is? Because when you look at the caliber of people that form part of these vigilante groups, sometimes you wonder whether we even have the right people there. Beyond being able to brandish charms, like you see many of them do, many of them really don't understand how to use technology. Okay.
I don't think it's an issue of them not being able to use technology. Sometimes it's like you're called to a duty. You want to show that you're capable of this duty. So sometimes they want to apprehend. When they get the information, they want to apprehend, and then they pass on to the NSCDC or any other security agency. So not necessarily about them not being able to use the apps. A lot of them have bank apps on their phone and so many other devices. All right, we have you back now, so let's continue with the conversation. Looking at the willing communication, we know that trust is an issue. Some persons may have intelligence regarding crime or regarding some nefarious activities going on in the community, but they get scared as to their own protection. If they communicate this information, what happens? So how does the NSCDC guarantee confidentiality and ensure that, puts the minds of people at rest that if you share information with the NSCDC, of course, you are protected?
Thank you very much for that question. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, as you rightly observed, that we are very people-friendly. And we have a robust system by which we receive district information from members of the public. And we'd like to use this, I would like to use this opportunity to assure members of the public that whatever information we receive, the identity of the source is protected. We don't share the identity of any of our informants. We act on it without necessarily disclosing the source of our information. So the members of the public can be rest assured that any information they oblige us we maintain the district of the entity and will act on it.
Okay. Now, I'd like us to, speak to some examples in specific terms of community-driven initiatives by the NSCDC that has improved security. Can you cite examples of, programs or initiatives that NSCDC has, put in place at the level of communities that really improved security in a particular location? Do we have anything like that? Maybe in Lagos in particular.
Okay, thank you very much. In Lagos, of recent, based on the mandate of our mandate to ensure the safety of our schools, we have dispatched our personnel to virtually all the schools in Lagos State to sensitize those school communities on how to activate response from us whenever they come under threat. And I can assure you that we have a robust arrangement. Almost all the schools in Lagos State right now, they have set up what we call school security committee, which are working with us hand in glove to ensure the safety of our students in all the educational institutions in Lagos State. This is replicated in every part of the country because Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps across the nation are being given the mandate to coordinate the protection, the response, or the protection of our educational institution. This is just one out of the several initiatives we are having. In the agri sector, we have recently partnered with a community in the fishing line. The crayfish, the member crayfish owners association were recently partnered with us. They have even established a community-based unit within their area to ensure the protection of their means of livelihood. Thank you.
All right. In response to natural disaster and emergency, how far has the NSCDC succeeded? Can you tell us some of the success stories?
Thank you very much. Nigerian Security and Civil Council has, as one of its core mandate, the assistance to assist the civil population during period of emergency. In any form of disaster in the country, we are there, we collaborate with other sister agencies to ensure we mitigate such emergencies. Already, we have our deployment personnel working with the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, and together, we always respond to emergencies. Recently, there was a plane crash in Oba Akran Avenue, Ikeja. And our personnel, alongside NEMA personnel and SEMA, were on ground to make sure that we assisted in putting out the fire, controlled the situation so that the thing did not get one. We thank God the casualty was minimal. There was no casualty on ground, but what could have been a major disaster was averted by the timely response of our Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps alongside other sister agencies. Thank you.
Okay. Now, if we speak about the police, for instance, they have the PCRC that provides a platform for them to interact with community leaders. Does NSCDC have something like that? What is it and how does it operate? A platform to engage community leaders? Because without taking the leaders along, you may not be able to do your job effectively. What is the equivalence of PCRC at the level of NSCDC?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps also has what we call Nigerian Civil Defense Community Relations Committee. We are partnering with members of the community to work together hand in glove to ensure that we protect them, their lives and property. We have them established in virtually every local government. As you know, we have stations in all the 799 local governments, 779 local governments across the federation. And in each of these divisions, we make sure that they establish what we call Civil Defense Community Relation Group. The divisional officers there have been mandated to engage the members of the community leaders, traditional leaders, to ensure, and religious leaders, to ensure that, look, they establish this communication where they share information and then they work together to ensure that they maintain peace in that environment.
Now, in ensuring that there is peace in the environment, we understand that for a security outfit like the Nigeria Police, when the police apprehend someone who has been involved in any criminal activity, the arrest, and then where it is not a billable offense or the person has to be charged to court, then they take it further. But how does the NSDC work? What is the process like for the NSDC in regards to ensuring the protection of lives and property? So when the NSDC apprehends criminals or in trying to ensure safety in the community, what does it do when it catches or apprehends criminals? What is the next level? What do they take them to, and what then happens?
Thank you very much for that call. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Act has mandated us, has given us the power to arrest, detain, investigate, and prosecute any person that is arrested, suspected to have committed any crime in the country. So in the course of discharging our responsibility, whenever we arrest any suspect who is believed to either have committed a crime or about to commit a crime, what we do is we detain him, we investigate the matter, and when we have enough evidence, we arraign him before a competent court of jurisdiction, and we prosecute. We have the mandate to prosecute, and where the offense the suspect commits borders on the mandate of other security agencies, like drug-related offenses, for instance, we used to hand over to the NDLEA or any other agency that has the mandate in that regard, because this encourages synergy among sister agencies. We cannot do it all, but we have to work together in synergy with other sister agencies to ensure the security of our community.
Okay, I'd like you to speak to one particular issue. The security of lives and property is often perceived to be the duty of people like you who are in uniforms. But you and I know that it is beyond, men of the uniform. There should be a sense of ownership by even the citizenry itself. Can you please educate the masses on the need for them to own their own security architecture sometimes? Because all of us, must play our role in being safe.
Thank you very much. It is often said that security is the business of everybody. And given the way Nigeria is now, even though we have a lot of security agencies across board, however, our number is not enough to cover the teeming population of the country. Nigeria is proceeded to have over 200 persons, and the number of security personnel across board is significantly low. So we cannot do it alone. We need the collaboration and support of members of the community to make their lives safe and secure. So on this note, I would like to call on all Nigerians to really make sure that, look, they need to come together as a community, monitor their own environment, and then collaborate with agencies, security agencies, to ensure their protection. We cannot be everywhere. Security agencies cannot be everywhere. However, in every community where crimes are being carried out, there are members of that community who will be privy to what is going on, either at the planning stage or at the executive stage. So when they are there, they need to come together and maintain that whatever. They have a responsibility to protect their own environment. What we can do now, with the powers and authority given to us, with the coercive instruments given to us as security agencies, we can now use that to suppress any hardened criminals. That is what the community may like. So we need to work together with members of the community. They will be our eyes and ears in those places, while we now use our powers and a coercive instrument to suppress any criminal that will be threatening their lives and property. Thank you.
Now, in the involvement of the NSDC with communities, are there recent trend of crime that the NSDC has discovered and perhaps want to enlighten the public on?
Yeah, thank you very much. The current trend of crime is in 2 or 3 facets. One is this gangster activities, which is now more prevalent in Lagos. You see a group of young persons who are probably unemployed and they are out of school. They will group themselves together and then they will now engage in illicit drugs, which now propel them to now begin to commit crime. They have been disturbing a lot of neighborhoods. And these children are our own children. They are words of people from that particular community. And so we need to now educate our members of the community to please checkmate their words. If every family monitor their own words and make sure that they did not engage or associate with bad elements in the society, will go a long way in nipping this act from the bud. When we leave our children careless and we allow them to go out to without monitoring, we don't know what they are doing, what their engagement is. This is really, really bad, because that is how they now associate with bad elements, and they will now be put to a lot of bad things, and then they continue to harass and then intimidate our members. So please, I would like to call on every member of society, particularly families. This thing starts from the family unit. If every family will monitor their own words, and whatever they are now misbehaving, they can alert the authorities. We have the social service, we have the welfare services at local government level who can provide some form of who can support to these particular people. The second, another issue is the influence of drugs. We have lots of illicit drugs within our environment. Some people are peddling these drugs for profit making, and these drugs are being used to destroy the future of our children.
Okay, so we will return to that particular interview much later. We'll go on a very short break now, and when we come back, we will, embark on the last lap of the conversation with Commercial Ishaq. Don't go anywhere, please. Okay, welcome back. We're still discussing security and the role of NSCDC in promoting community involvement in security issues. And we had the last lap of the conversation. And of course, we're still talking to Mr. Ishaq. Okay, I do know that one of the mandates of the NSCDC is to protect critical national infrastructure and assets. And this is where your role in protecting pipelines, comes into play. And we have cases of pipeline vandalism in Nigeria. Now, one thing is to react to the activities of these vandals, but to be proactive is what I want to ask now. What steps is the NSCDC taking to ensure that we are proactive in fighting, pipeline vandals, beyond just reacting to their menace?
Very much. As you rightly observe, we have as one of our core mandates to monitor and protect critical national asset and infrastructure in Nigeria. This infrastructure borders on oil and gas facilities.
Oh, oh there, technical glitch there again. We have audio challenge from his own end there, really. Okay, so let's just go on. Blessing, I was talking about pipeline
vandalism, yes,
and it's a big challenge.
Yes, it is.
Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, I was asking you about what proactive steps is the NSCDC taking to combat the menace of pipeline vandalism. What steps are you taking to ensure that they don't come to vandalize our pipelines?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. As you rightly observe, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has as one of its major mandates to monitor and protect critical national assets and infrastructure. This infrastructure includes oil and gas facilities, transport facilities, communication facilities, and so on and so forth. And to do this now, we have a robust deployment along these facilities. For instance, on oil and gas, we have deployments in virtually most of the refining companies. So we ensure that, look, whatever they have, those refineries are not tampered with. We also have patrol teams that monitor the pipeline right of way to ensure that on daily basis, on 24/7 basis, to ensure that those people that attempt to vandalize them are nipped in the bud. We have a robust deployment along power installations and then transport, road transport, and the rest of them. We also have, we are collaborating with members of the community and we give them our contact so that they can inform us of any planned attack or any threat to some of these facilities. But however, despite all these arrangements, however, because of the versatility of this infrastructure, whatever our efforts are being thwarted by these determined criminals. On this note, we now have to collaborate with other sister agencies to synergize our effort to combine our resources, both human and materials, to ensure that we effectively protect this critical national asset of the country.
Are there certain challenges that impact the effectiveness of the NSCDC?
Yes, of course. Like any other agencies in the country, we have challenges that is affecting our the effectiveness of our operations. One of the major challenges is one, inadequate personnel. You can see Nigeria is a vast country with lots of network of infrastructure to protect. The number of personnel available in civil defense are not adequate to give the effective protection of all these facilities. The second challenge we have is that of logistics. Talk about mobility, talk about communication gadget and what have you. We can do more with some of these activities. So some of these facilities, we need lots and lots of logistics, mobility, communication gadgets. This will go a long way in enhancing our performance, in ensuring the security of the critical national assets for the nation.
Okay, on a very last note, sir, is there any number that a typical Lagos resident can call to reach the command in case you want to alert the command of any security infraction anywhere? Any number we can call, or how can you be reached immediately?
Yes, thank you very much for that. First of all, I would like to inform you that we have a website. The Corps has a website on which we disseminate information about, and it can we disseminate information about our activities. We also have an email address which members of the public can use to alert us on any issue, and the email address is cdcomm_lagos@nscdc.gov.ng. I take that again, cdcomm_lagos@nscdc.gov.ng. Another number you can reach us is this on mobile phone on 080 223 22022. I take that again, 080 223 22022.
All right.
I'm sure members of the public can always avail us. The last one I would like to give is that special application, Android application, which is called N Alert. It is available in Play Store, Google Play Store. Members of the public can always download it, and they can use that medium to alert us as Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and indeed other security agencies, on any threat to their lives and property. That is very effective. On that particular platform, they can even sell live video of incidences that may occur to enable us to record it and then determine mode of response. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ishaq Usman, Lagos State Commandant of the NSDC, for talking with us this morning about security in our communities in Nigeria. We appreciate your time with us. And that's how we wrap up that segment of the discussion today. We'll go on a break and return to look at other issues. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Early Exchange on Souk News. We're still taking a look at security of lives and property. Earlier on this show, we spoke with the Commercial of Lagos Command of the NSCDC, who spoke extensively about the need to involve community players in the issue of security. But now, we move over to police, the police command. This is a domain I like to tread with caution because police is our friend. Yes, we know, but there are issues, burden on the effectiveness of policing in our nation as a whole. Just some opening statistics. In 2022, the police command recorded a total of over 33,000 cases of crime, which included murder, armed robbery, and kidnapping, even rape. Then, they also arrested over 31,000 suspects in connection with these cases. But then, this is the issue here now. However, only 12,353 of these suspects were convicted and sentenced to prison. That speaks to perhaps delayed justice, as some call it, or some other issues that are not known to us here. These and many more are what we'll be looking at as we examine the role of the police and other law enforcement agencies in maintaining the security of lives and property. Now, who else do we bring on the show today, if not that man who is known on social media for speaking vehemently against police torture and police brutality? I am talking of no other person but the police liaison officer in Lagos State, Benjamin Odeyin. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show today.
All right. I will start with two quotes that you have on X. In 2022, you wrote that police brutality is a systemic problem in Nigeria. It is not just a few bad apples. It is a culture of impunity that has been allowed to fester for too long. We need to hold the police accountable for their actions, and we need also to change the way we think about policing in Nigeria. Then this year, you wrote, torture is a crime against humanity. It is never justified. The police must stop using torture to extract confessions. It is time for the government to take steps to end this barbaric practice. Now, you are a policeman and you are this bold, speaking against brutality, which is applaudable. My first question is this: what gives you the courage to dare where others fear?
Okay, thank you very much. To start with, those quotes.
Can you unmute yourself,
not
please?
by me. I think you are mistaken. Those quotes are most likely from the first public relations officers, ACP Muyiwa Adejobi. But nonetheless, I also subscribe to his statements. We do not support or encourage torture. If I could turn the camera around and for you to see what I have in my office, I have a big sign that says any officer who participates in the infliction of torture is liable under the law. So I do not also support torture, and wherever we identify cases of torture, definitely such officers will be brought to book. So we all can't afford to be docile. People need to champion this cause and ensure that the right thing is done.
All right, still talking about torture. Now, in your statement, you said the police must stop using torture to extract confessions. It is time for the government to take steps to end this barbaric practice. What steps are you referring to? Or do you suggest that the government take to end torturous practices as implemented by some police officers in trying to either catch criminals or extract confessions?
Like I said while answering the first questions, these quotes are not mine.
Okay.
So I think the foundation is already faulty. So asking me what I was referring to, I wasn't the one referring to anything. So could we just talk about torture without referring to the quotes? Yes. I'll gladly answer them.
All right. So
like I said,
assuming
those quotes are
not
mine.
Assuming someone is speaking and asking that government does something to stop police using torture to either extract confession or to apprehend criminals, what would you suggest in place of torture?
Well, for us, we have the We have the Police Service Commission, which recently launched the CMU, Complaint Monitoring Unit. Within the police force, we have the CRU, the Complaint Response Unit. We have the Public Complaints Commission. So these platforms have been created to checkmate unprofessional acts like torture. So I don't think I would suggest anything more. I would just want to see a situation where these modalities that have been put in place are strengthened so that they can achieve their mandate.
Okay, we do know that policing in Nigeria comes with its challenges. One of the challenges, like we know, is the fact that we are under-policed. The ratio of one policeman to a particular number of citizens is lower than people say we need in Nigeria. Beyond this under-policing, what other challenges does the Nigerian police, face? That probably is limiting efficiency.
Well, it's an issue with capacity. So yesterday, a journalist called me from one of the major newspapers and said, "Oh, the people of a particular area are complaining that they don't have adequate police patrol in their area. That they would like to see the police patrol more." And I told him that, see, we are not keeping any patrol vehicle. I do. All our patrol vehicles are out there patrolling. So if they really want to see more patrol, then we need to get more patrol vehicles. So that brings us to the talk of capacity. So we cannot go beyond the capacity we have. So for the Nigeria Police Force, we know our job, we know what to do and when to do it. But when the capacity is not there, there's nothing you can do. So apart from under policing, capacity is another thing. And where we don't have patrol vehicles, we could actually make use of information technology, ICT. We could make use of that such that you plant a camera at a bus stop. I mean, you install a camera at a bus stop, and just one person back at the control room can view and rotate the camera and see what's going on around. But still, all boils down to capacity.
All right, since the police cannot do it alone, we need to have the participation of the public in ensuring that there is security. Now, there is this saying, you see something, say something. But sometimes people see something and they want to say something, but there is the fear. If I say something, how am I sure that it will not come back to me, like my identity becomes exposed? So how does the police ensure the trust of people in cooperating towards information sharing?
Well, we have the option of you, the person giving the information has the option of going anonymous. You have that option. Several times I receive calls, unknown caller, and I pick and they say, "I just want to tell you that such a thing is happening at so place." Some people just open let me call it a burner email address and just send an email to tell me what's going on somewhere. So if you have that fear, you have the option of being anonymous. But I can also assure you that you need not fear, especially when you choose to deal with senior officers. Yes, admitted. There are some officers that will collude with criminals and let them know that, oh, this person gave us information about you. But I would encourage such people to instead deal with senior officers, deal with the DPO. The higher the rank, the more responsible that person is. That's the same for every organization, not just the police. So where you cannot totally trust the police, go anonymous, and we can assure you that we'll deal with the case accordingly.
Okay. To address some of the challenges facing policing, I know that the federal government of Nigeria has, gone ahead with a lot of reforms, 3 of which I'll quickly, recap. We have the Police Act of 2020, which is one of the reforms. We have the Presidential Roadmap on Police Reform, and we have the Implementation Committee on Police Reforms. Would you say these reforms have been largely effective? And if not, what is missing and what can still be done?
Well, I won't speak. I won't speak for these the agencies in charge of these reforms. There are certain agencies, not the police, but still, since we are the beneficiaries of these reforms, I should be able to say 1 or 2 things about it. You also forgot to mention the Police Trust Fund, PCF, Police Trust Fund. Yes, that was created by the former administration and it is still running. So what I know is that this intervention programs, have been visiting different commands, have been gathering information, collating ideas, identifying needs, and procurement that you can't do in 24 hours. There are processes to follow in procurement. And I know procurement is being done, things are being purchased, and it will just, in my own opinion, all of these things will materialize almost at the same time. So for now, we haven't felt the impact fully, but we can see works in the pipeline. And we're optimistic. We're optimistic that in no distant time, that these interventions will actually materialize and give positive effect.
Let's talk about welfare of the police. Now, for a policeman to be out there ensuring the protection of lives and property, his own needs should be taken care of so that he has the morale to ensure he does all that is necessary to protect lives and property of the Nigerian citizens. So how is welfare now for police officers?
Welfare is not where it used to be. Neither is it where we would like it to be. But it has not been stagnant. It's been improving by the day. And we're optimistic that as long as the government continues this way to think about our welfare, things will get better than it is now.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the perception of the police by the public. You are literally helping us. I mean the police helping people to get them secure in terms of lives and property. But then, because of some, bad eggs among the police force, the perception is not that favorable. You, as the PRO, you have, it's your duty and other PROs to ensure that the police is well represented in the public space. What more can be done across board to ensure that the police is perceived the way it should be perceived, regardless of the fact that there are bad apples among them?
Well, there are two sides to this. What more can be done on our part? What more can be done on the part of the people? For us, I always say that Nigeria Police Force is perhaps the only organization in the country, that would name and shame its own people. I can't count the number of times we have identified our men who engaged in corrupt practices, showed them to the world, mentioned their names, and had them dismissed from the force. I say it, some other organizations would shield such. They want to give you the perfect image. But for us, we are doing all of this to gain the people's trust, and it's working. You might not want to admit it, but it's working. People give us commendation. People say, "Oh, kudos to them. They have been able to flush out these bad eggs." And on the part of the people too, I would like it that people do not stereotype us. Like, oh, police, they are always like that. That's what they always do. Sometimes give benefit of the doubt. And we'll continue to do our best to be transparent, to purge out the bad eggs. It's a continuous process, and I can assure you that, like you said, myself as a PRO, other PROs, the leadership of the force, gradually and steadily, maybe slowly, the trust deficit, the trust gap would close up.
All right, crime is evolving, and every day there are new crimes. But one crime that is troubling the world and is a great concern is terrorism. What is the police doing about it? Can you point us to examples of how the police has been able to stem this crime?
Now you're taking me out of my domain. I'm a spokesperson for Lagos State Police Command. Terrorism is not one of our issues here. You're talking about the northeastern part of the country now, so I don't want to go there. Let's stay within Lagos State.
Okay, talking about staying within Lagos State, let's talk about the use of firearms. At least that is one challenge that has, bedeviled Lagos State. Of recent, we heard the story of one lady that was killed on Christmas Day by the so-called accidental discharge. And, is this a case of incompetence on the part of the police officers, or is it a systemic issue that we have officers misfiring at certain times and, people fall dead for it?
It's a case of accidents. None of the two options you gave. I don't want to be boxed into those two options. It's a case of accident. This happens everywhere in the world. It's not just the firearm. Even for you, if you drive a car, you're not using a firearm, you're driving a car. It's very possible that you scratch another person's car, you brush another, no matter how good you are, or no matter how long you have been driving. Now, I'm not making an excuse for accidental discharge. In fact, there should be nothing like accidental discharge, because you should be very familiar with your firearm. You should know the workings of your firearm. But like I say, it is not systemic. We all use firearms, or most of us use firearms, and we've not recorded accidental discharge. So it is not systemic. Neither is it a case of incompetence. I would call it what it is, accidents. Yeah, there might be one or two people that are incompetent, but we endeavor not to hand over firearms to people who have not passed the required tests at the shooting range or during musketry. So it's just a case of accident. But what we do is to make sure that the punishment for that, because we wouldn't just write it off or pardon it because it's an accident. It's an avoidable accident. It shouldn't have happened. So what we do is to make sure that the punishment for such is very severe, extremely severe, so that it deters other people from being careless enough to make such accidents. Like the case you referred to, the woman that was killed on Christmas Day last year, the officer responsible is still in prison as we speak. So these are the things we are doing. And since that time till this year, there hasn't been any case of accidental discharge except for officers that deliberately misused their firearm. But accidental discharge, I don't think we have any. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, let's look at stop and search. Sometimes some people have issues when they are driving or they're in a vehicle and the police stops them. So what should be the level of compliance? What is an officer who stops a vehicle expected to do? And what should be the responsibility of the citizens in the vehicle?
There's no hard and fast rule. You can be stopped for a couple of reasons, for a variety of reasons. You never can tell what it is. So it's not like for every stop that that happens, it has to follow a sequence. Number one, do this. Number two, do this. Number three, do this. It could be nothing. I've been stopped before, and I've been asked for my vehicle particulars, and I've been stopped before, and nothing was asked. There's a wind down. Let me say, okay, you can go. So there is no hard and fast rule. But on the part of the road users, on the part of motorists, it's advisable that you are cooperative and you obey all lawful, mark the word lawful, all lawful instructions you are given, and do not succumb to extortion, do not succumb to harassment within safe limits, but still citizens should cooperate and not be unnecessarily antagonistic and violent, because some people do that because they just don't like the sight of police. So there's no hard and fast rule.
All right, you mentioned within safe limits. Can you expand that safe limit? And you said
what I'm saying,
lawful
within safe
checks.
Limits,
okay.
Like do not succumb to harassment. But for me as a police officer, I see an armed security person, could be a police officer, could be a soldier, who is unnecessarily aggravated, unnecessarily agitated. That's why I say within safe limits, it's best to argue with such a person. It's best to just remain calm. So that's why I say within safe limits, because it's possible that the person gets too agitated and misuses his firearm. And once you're dead, you're not there to tell what really happened. You could actually spin any story around it and say, oh, he was an armed robber. So that's what I mean by within safe limits. It's not unheard of that armed personnel get too agitated and become trigger happy. So that's why people should always do things within safe limits.
Okay, still on the issue of stop and search, should the policeman search my phone really? Is he authorized to ask me to unlock my phone and be delving into my personal stuffs? What happens to my privacy as an individual?
I'm actually tired of answering this particular question, because I say it over and over and over and over again. No, the policeman is not supposed to search your phone. It's your privacy, except that phone is subject of an ongoing criminal investigation.
All right, thank you very much for being with us on the show today talking about security. Before you go, in 1 minute, can you just, before we go to break, can you just tell us some of the things that people should be aware of in being security conscious? These days, everyone is moving at fast pace. Are there certain security tips that people should know?
Well, I'll sum up everything as situational awareness. Everybody should be situationally aware. When you're somewhere, be observant, see what's going on around you, so that when something is amiss, you can quickly reach out to maybe people around your speed dials, or you could call the police if you have the means to. Security tips: always let someone know where you're going. Always let someone know your movement. Endeavor to have speed dials. Most of us use smartphones now. They have speed dials. Speed dials are getting are evolving. Are getting better by the day. There are speed dials you could just do, and it will you could activate and to send your location and a distress message out. So people should take advantage of those things and always have phone numbers handy. Phone numbers. If I try to memorize somebody's number, so that in case they even snatch your phone, you are not with your phone, you can quickly borrow the nearest phone and make a call. So people should be situationally aware. I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, I like that. We should be situationally aware. We'll just take a breather now. When we come back, we'll look at more things we can do as people to ensure that we collaborate with the police first to secure our lives and property. Let's just take a breather now and allow us to, come back afterwards. We'll still be with you when we're back. Thank you. Thank you for staying tuned. We're still looking at the place of law enforcement agencies in promoting the security of lives and property, and we've been having a conversation with the police PPRO in Lagos, Benjamin Udeyin, who has been talking to issues, fielding questions on the role of the police. Welcome back, Benjamin. Let me just confirm that. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Now, I have met policemen that made me feel, oh, maybe I should have been a policeman. And then we have met or we have seen some others that will make us feel, oh, I don't want to go there. Now, how do we make the police force attractive to, to recruit the right people? You hardly hear children say, when I grow up, I want to be a policeman. Meanwhile, people say, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. I do know, but they will be speaking from the point of ignorance. But then, from the point of knowledge now, how do we make sure that this particular service to humanity becomes attractive to even the young ones who will grow into the future?
Well, to start with, I've met journalists that made me say, wow, I should have been a journalist.
Okay.
And I've met journalists that made me feel, wow, yuck, I don't ever want to be a journalist. So same holds for every single profession. Now, how do we make it attractive? I don't think I want to make it attractive. That will sound weird to you, but the reason is that we don't have shortage of applicants.
Okay.
Each year, in fact, there are at least 20 people right now, reminding me every week, please, when the form is out, let me know. I would like to join the police. I would like to join the police. So already we have more than we can absorb. We have more than we can take. So there is no point marketing a product that has so many customers already. But still, I get where you're coming from. That many people, many kids don't want to say, but when I grow up, I want to be a police officer. Well, many, not that none. I've seen people that say, oh, I want to be a police officer. How do we make it attractive? It's by our actions, not by what we say. It's by our actions. And that's what we are doing. It's gradual. It's not something that can happen in a day. The routes that exist, we admit that there are some routes. The route that exists did not develop in a day. It's developed over time. So our reform processes will take some time. But we are working towards it. Okay. And like I said earlier, we are not where we were. Yes, we are not where we want to be, but we are working towards it such that we would have more and more kids in school saying, I want to be a police officer. And the day they are doing career day, they would want to dress in police uniforms.
Okay. At the risk of putting you on the spot, I'll share this with you here. Now, when I asked that question is for the purpose, I was part of a social experiment where parents, when I say parents, responsible parents were asked, would you allow your child to be a policeman? Out of 10 of them, only one said, maybe I will. Now the question is, the people who are conducting the interview said, okay, if you and you and you will not allow your children to join the police force, that leaves the police force to maybe those who couldn't really get job elsewhere. Because if the so-called responsible citizens are saying, no, my child can't be part of police force, then what is the caliber of recruitment we are making into the police force? That is why I asked that question. It wasn't really to put the police on the spot, really. Now, the idea is this. If it is as attractive as it should be, then we wouldn't have 9 out of 10 people saying, no, my child cannot be a policeman. That's my point there for you.
I'll tell you something.
Yes, please.
They make it look like HIV.
Who are
now? What do I mean? No. I'm well done. They make it look like HIV. Like if you ask everybody, do you have HIV? Do you have it? Everybody say no. Even those that have it tell you no. That's how it is. Most people will tell you, no, I'll not allow my child to join the police. But I can tell you for free. There are many responsible families in Nigeria, many VIPs, many politicians that you know, many wealthy people who insist that my son must be a police officer. So I don't know the demographic you used. I don't know the respondents you picked, but I can tell you that there are many people who would not admit to you on TV that I will allow my son to join the police. But behind the scene, they would actually fight tooth and nail to allow their kids to join the police. So it's about demography and respondents.
All right.
All right, so talking about people wanting to join the police force or not wanting to join the police force. Now, for those who have family members who are police officers, sometimes we see a case of abuse. They have issues with people and they're quick to want to use that. I have a brother who's a policeman, or I have a father who's a policeman, and things like that. But apart from that, the attachment of police officers to certain people in society as security. Now, there was a time we saw the recall of police officers attached to officers, attached to individuals, maybe as escort or just as security for them. What is the process to this? Are there people who should have certain police officers attached to them, or it's just an informal thing that we see happen in the society?
This particular interviewer is fond of taking me out of my jurisdiction. Okay, so attaching police to individuals is not something done by the Lagos State Police Command. If you come to the command headquarters today to request for police officers, we will direct you to the force headquarters in Abuja. Only force headquarters in Abuja has the power to attach police officers to individuals. Every single person you see with a police officer first contacted Abuja, maybe went in person or put it in writing to request for police officers. So I do not want to step out of my jurisdiction to talk about it. But yes, I could give you an idea. There are processes you apply to the Inspector General of Police. Your application is reviewed, and if you truly qualify, then police officers will be attached to you under the scheme called the Special Protection Unit, SPU. You would see them most times with blue beret. Those are the SPU. So it's an Abuja thing. We do not do that in Lagos State yet. So I would not be able to talk much about it.
Okay, now to respond to what you said about taking you out of your jurisdiction, you are first a policeman before the PR for Lagos State Police Command. So it is assumed that you have idea about what goes on with the police practice. That's why I asked you that. And thank you for shedding light on that.
Okay, thank you very much. But in case you do not know, we have a first PRO whose jurisdiction covers the entire federation. Is ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, and I'm sure that you will be very glad to be on this show to answer all of those questions that do not that irrespective of jurisdiction.
Okay, let me ask one that I know is within your jurisdiction in Lagos State, even though it is still a bit of argument there. You see crime happening somewhere, and people are crying foul because there's a police station nearby, and it is expected that, okay, maybe they will come and, intervene, yet they don't at some point. Now, I have heard conversations like it is not within our jurisdiction. This, your area, even though it is close to us, does not lie within our jurisdiction. And I begin to ask a moral question. What should be the first priority? Obeying jurisdiction protocols or intervening and saving lives? What's your take on that?
If a crime has occurred and you are going to the station to report for the purpose of documentation and possibly getting a police report, which you want to maybe use to file insurance and all of that, jurisdiction comes to play. You must go to the police station covering your jurisdiction. But when it is a case of emergency, a crime is happening and we need help, there's nothing like jurisdiction. In fact, police officers in Ogun State, Akute, can actually cross into Bega in Lagos State to tackle crime. And after that has been done, we can now hand over the suspects to the right jurisdiction if there are any suspects. So we discourage our officers from doing that. And well, I don't think that has happened any time recently in Lagos State. Don't get me wrong. I said when a crime has been committed and you need to go make a formal complaint, jurisdiction must be added to and must be abided by. But if it is a case of emergency, there is no mention or no reason to talk about jurisdiction. And we encourage people to tell us about such. If there's an officer that actually said, oh, a robbery is going on, it's not my jurisdiction, please let us know. And like the lady said, I'm first a police officer. It doesn't matter if the person is serving in Ogun State. or Kebbi State. Any police officer that does that, I can take it up. I can report that officer to the appropriate authorities if he happens not to fall under our command.
Okay. All right. On a final note, does the issue of posting bail fall under your jurisdiction before I continue?
So we have brought all of this interview under jurisdiction or no jurisdiction. Okay, posting bail is a general issue.
Okay.
It's not about jurisdiction now. So okay. to answer that, bail. I know what you mean. That is bail truly free? Yes. I'm guessing that's what you meant. Is bail truly free? Yes. And posting bail, like you put it, is what a suspect is entitled to under certain categories of crime. There are some crimes that are not exactly bailable, but where you are entitled to bail, you should be granted bail as long as you can meet the requirements, as long as there is a reliable surety. It's not enough to say, oh, they asked me to bring a surety, and I brought a surety. What if that surety is not reliable? For example, somebody has been arrested for something, and I want to grant the person bail, and I say, oh, bring a surety, somebody to sign to say, yes, this person was released to me, and the next days that he has been asked to come, I would ensure that he comes. If the surety you bring is somebody that just came visiting, is actually based in Canada, and he will be traveling back before the next date, that surety is not reliable and it will not be accepted. So you need to bring somebody that will be around, that stays close by, somebody I can easily reach out to, somebody I know his address. And that's why courts too would say, well, somebody with landed property within Lagos State, somebody. So it's about accessibility. So once you meet the requirement, you have a reliable surety, then you should be granted bail. It should not be monetized. There is no money for bail. Where such happens, please reach out to us. And that's why we've mandated some DPOs all DPOs to ensure that their numbers are boldly written all across the station, not just within the station, also outside the station, so that if they want to call within the station for fear of invoking the wrath of the officers, you can just walk out to say, well, let me use the POS out there, and once you go out, you call the DPO, and that should be looked into. Bail is absolutely free.
All right. Does the gender of the surety matter, whether male or female?
Yes. I hear people say, oh, women cannot stand surety. No, that's balderdash. It doesn't matter. And I'm happy that a few people have called me to say, oh, PRO, I'm here now. I want to stand surety for somebody, and they say because I'm a woman. And I'm always happy to take it up, to call the DPO. Like, DPO, are you aware your IPO, the IPO working under you saying such? And most times they say, oh, I wasn't aware. Thank you for bringing it to my notice, and they do the right thing. And such officer learns that day, almost have learned that day that, oh, women can do it. I don't know where they get the misinformation from. It's not part of the things we teach them at the police college or police academy. But each time people report to us, they give us the opportunity to learn, to teach the officers and correct an anomaly.
All right, I must admit, it's been a very exciting interview. But on a very last note, we know that police is our friend. That R there stands for responsibility. If you remove the R there, police becomes a fiend, which is a demon. Now, reach out to your people now. Call them to responsibility on this show now so that they will continue to be our friend, not our fiend.
You asked me to reach out to my own people.
I'm saying, right? Speak to them now. Call out, because you are a voice for the police now. Appeal to them more so that we can continue to be friends. We know we have a role to play also, but then when they listen to you, there are people that listen to you, even maybe junior officers now. Reach out to them. If everybody is as vocal as you are in condemning what is wrong, then police will continue to be seen as our friend, not as our fiend. That's my question there. So let's have your voice reaching out to your people.
Well, police officers are duty bound to be of assistance to people, to help people, to prevent crime and detect crime. Duty bound. So we don't need to appeal to police officers to do their job, to do the right thing. They are duty bound to do it. But let me just oblige you.
Thank you.
And ask police officers out there to do everything within their means, everything within their capacity to be of assistance to people. It's a duty call. This is what we have signed up for. And beyond our salary, we would also receive the blessings of God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall obtain mercy. I think that's how the Bible puts it. So police officers out there are encouraged to always do the right thing, as it is rewarding in all ramifications.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, SP Benjamin Hudain, PR, Lagos State Police Command, for your time with us on Early Exchange. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on the show today.
It's our pleasure. And we'll go on a quick break, return with more on Early Exchange. We're not done yet.
A great team must have people that have character, the first C, competence, the second C, and commitment, the third C. In an earlier impact, I shared the 5 forces of transformation, being vision, team, time, resources, and resolve. And we had agreed that the one that we could do something about effectively and quickly is the team, making sure, in essence, that we have the right people on the bus and we have the right people sitting on the right seat in the bus. What are the considerations of selecting a winning team? In my view, there are 3 critical C's that must come into play for every member of a winning team. And the first C is character. It's important that we have common values, all the members of the team, to reduce friction. Where do we draw the line in the sand? What we do according to our moral compass and what will we not do? What are the behaviors that lead to the values we have professed? Character. So every member of the team must have above board character. The second C is competence. This is mainly the rigor of your logic, knowing everything about your area. A lot of times, and more often than not, we do have that rigor of logic. It's usually our communication of our logic that is faulty. The last one, but not the least, is commitment. During the era of COVID, when we pivoted to online work, lots of people got, 1, distracted, or 2, trying to do 2 things at the same time. So they are not working for only one project or one company. I mean, even if you are freelance, when you are on a project, you face that project squarely. When you don't have that commitment as a team member, you breach trust and you cause the team to have a common breach of trust, which causes friction. People want to feel that you've got my back and I've got your back. And when they don't feel that, then everybody leaves the load. So a great team must have people that have character, first C, competence, the second C, and commitment.
Thank you for staying tuned. That was a brilliant conversation with the police PRO there. Now, we're still on security. Call today, our regular seminar, this time around on security. Of course, we know that we have private players in this particular sector. There are private security firms who play their own role in securing lives and property in the country. And what exactly do they do? How effective are they, or is it just a business concern for them? These and many more will be, taking a look at when our guest is actually ready. But before then, I do know that you see a lot of uniforms, not Nigerian approved uniforms, so to speak, but these pockets of security outfits
or not the uniforms of security agencies.
Of course, you see that, and you keep for younger ones. Maybe they are seen as police, or they're not police. Okay, but we're looking at the role of private security outfits in securing lives and property. And before we go on to the guest, who guards your house?
Well, the person who guards my house belongs to a private security outfit. I don't know their name, but there are so many of them. And you find some of them within several business premises. They are different ones, maybe to provide some form of uniformity regarding the security personnel surrounding a particular business, please, because it may look unorganized if you perhaps visited a bank and you just find one man in mufti and find another in mufti standing around and he tell you they're security men. But to give the sense of an organization and to give the sense that these are security men, you can differentiate them from other people, so they have a uniform. And then some private individuals, perhaps who would have the experience of working with security agencies, set up some of the security firms to provide security to people, because you cannot have a policeman attached to every house. You cannot have policemen attached to every business outfit. So they bridge the gap. They serve as an additional layer in the security architecture. That's what this private security firms actually do. But we'll look at the operations today, and then we'll look at how they complement the security agencies that we have in the country, their role towards improving security. These are some of the areas that we'll be looking at as we talk with Richard Amuwa, who is Managing Director of Mega Guard Services Limited. Good morning, Richard.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, looking at how private security firms have emerged, how are they complementing the security architecture that we have in the country?
First of all, again, let me say good morning to our viewers. How are we complementing the public security? Don't forget that, just like you said in your introduction, that the private security are in every nook and cranny, and that we see things that ordinary people see, and we are supposed to report that to the authority for action. We have to make arrests where necessary. Unfortunately, the system we have in Nigeria does not really give room for that. Private security organization in Nigeria have a body called an Association of Licensed Security Practitioners of Nigeria. It's a body based in Abuja and 36 states, including Abuja. So we are supposed to work with Nigerian police and every other public security, but unfortunately, that is not what's on the ground as I speak with you. This is my 23 years in this industry. So, and I was the former National Publicity Secretary of the National for 5 years. So whatever I said today as on my own, I'm saying it as an authority in the field. And I'm saying it as somebody who has been running private security for the past 23 years in Nigeria. So fortunately, like it's done in other parts of the world, like for example, in South Africa, most of these jobs you see, LASMA, all those ag bureau that they do, in South Africa, it's private security that does it. And like you said earlier too, I'm going to confirm this, that today in Nigeria, about 200+ million people, we have less than 400,000 policemen protecting the citizens. So they will ask a question: what stopped Nigerian government or the public security to bring in private guards to work with them? What stopped them from having a pool of information where information is gathered and we take it to somewhere, and it is processed and it is taken off. I can assure you that today, in my local government where I operate, the police authority there does not even know I exist. Even when you go to them to let them know that, okay, you are in a particular place, but this is what you are doing, they don't care. Okay. So I think there's a whole lot of system changing, that we need in Nigeria. That's why I say sometimes, and which is acceptable in everywhere. Security is local, but the system we operate in Nigeria here is just so bad. Okay. That's why I see insecurity is thriving.
We'll come to that system we run in Nigeria. Sorry to interrupt there. You have spent 23 solid years in this business. Now, let's look at the quality of hands you engage. What I know about this is that, okay, people who run the show are probably retired military personnel or retired police officers who now train people to take up small security jobs here and there. Is this just a business for you, or do you really have trained hands working with you? Because what I see most times are gate men, not really security men.
You are very right. Well, let me correct something. I know you don't need to have a military or police background to run a security business or to be part of security organization. You see, and that's the problem we're having today. A lot of people think that anything security must be military. Security, especially when you are working with people, should be civil. For me, I trained as to do what I'm doing. I trained to run this business. I also went to UK to have a course on SIA, where I studied to know how to run a guard business, how guards operate. In UK, guard is being controlled by the government, by the secretary to the government. So all eyes is on security. I must be licensed as a guard to operate. If you don't have your license, for example, in UK, you don't operate as a security. Unfortunately, after my studies and everything I did, I came back to Nigeria. I also had my management and operational training in Unilag. Because Unilag operates the diploma and advanced diploma course on security operations. So I got that too. I need to say yes that the problem we have is the fact that the guards, majority of the guards, do not take guards, guards as a career, unlike other parts of the world. Here, it is let me just do it until something better comes. Let me just do it until I get something else. So when you see a lot of people at the beat, on their beats, they are not really doing what they've been trained. No security company will just recruit, except maybe the facts among us, those who are not licensed. But don't forget it again, I need to let you know that every security company is licensed by federal government. And for you to be licensed, you have to go through rigorous background check from the DSS before Ministry of Interior. Then for our own, there was Ministry of Internal Affairs before they sign your license for you to operate. So, true and true again, you must have maybe a retired military or police in your director. But that does not mean that you, as a MD or as the founder, must be a military or a police person. So when you see guards misbehaving or doing what they do at their location, it's not what they are sent to do. I'm going to assure you that most of them are just doing what they are doing. Just like the same a policeman that you have trained, spend so much money. You see the way they behave, you see them on the street, you ask yourself, are these really guys security? So I think it's a system we need to change in our, in us as people. That when you are working, for example, there's these two boys they call, I can't remember their name again, they were working as a guard, and I think they were suspended because they were dancing while they were doing their job. You can imagine somebody who is supposed to be protecting an organization, I was out dancing, to the public or for the public, and they were sacked because of what they are doing. And somebody took them up and said, okay, how come these young boys were doing this job, and took them up and it gave them scholarship to go back to school. So what I'm saying here is that the moment the guards were training, begin to see this job as a career that can, that can help me to become somebody. For me, speaking here, I started as a guard. I didn't just wake up because fortunately I'm not I was not born with silver spoon. My parents didn't have money to send me to school, so I needed to work to be able to go to school, send myself to school. So I think the first job I took when I finished my secondary school, class 5 then, was to come to Lagos and pick up a job. And one of the jobs I did was security. And I found my way back to university and to the US and to UK for further studies, where I graduated and won
All right, now let's look at the training of these personnel that work with private security firms. How well are they trained and empowered to effectively deliver on their job? You gave the example of the boys who were security guards or were security personnel at a restaurant and they were found dancing. Now, perhaps they did that because they didn't know what their job entails completely. So what is the training like for personnel of private security firms and empowerment too?
They do. We do train the boys. There is this local adage out there that says, when you are trained, you retrain yourself. For example, I want to use my organization as an example. After training in a classroom, we train them on the job too when they get to the location where they're going to train, because we have gotten all the information about our clients. If you're media, if you're a production organization, if you are whatever you are into, we take it back to the classroom and train the guards that you are supposed to be posted there. But like I said, it all depends on individuals who chose to do their own thing. I told you about myself. I was a guard. I was trained, and I worked in some establishment before I went back to school and started my own. It is some of the things I've learned why I was a guard that I know, and what I learned in the school that made me who I am today. The problem I think over the years I've seen with Nigerians young men is the fact that they really don't want to learn. They didn't want to know, because you see, you can't force. We are not. There's discipline. There's rules and regulations. There's codes of conduct which we try to apply. But you see, the problem we have again, for example, you are paying a guard. Let's assume you are paying them, amount. Amount, maybe let me say 1,000 naira, and a guard sees another company paying 1,500 naira. He pulls down his uniform wherever he is and moves to the other locations. Another company. That will tax on the organization. But right now, the association itself are working on it, and we're trying to have a central training manual where every company A to Z will train their guard on the same manual.
Okay, let me take you up on the issue of emoluments, or should I say salary, for the guards, the private guards. Essentially, this might actually rattle you a little bit. You discover that, okay, you charge an estate that the estate will be paying 20,000 naira to one security personnel you assign to the estate. What we found out is that the owner of the outfit would take like 8,000 naira off the 20,000 naira, leaving the man doing the job with 12,000 naira. This is a kind of disincentive. Are you guilty as charged? Or if you're not, what do you have to say to those who are guilty about it?
Okay, I need to say this. I need to correct it, and thank God we are doing this this on national TV. Government, like I said, we are given a license to do this job. And in our license, government say we should pay 60% of whatever we collect to our guard and 40% to the guards. But you find out, for example, in our organization, we give as much as 75% because we realize that the clients do not want to pay. For example, there's a job I rejected yesterday because for us right now, we said we cannot take any job less than 45,000 naira in this economy. If you have your calculator here, sir, before now, a client want to pay you 30,000 naira. Calculate 60% of that and 40% of that. Look at the cost of operations. Look at the cost of uniform. Look at the cost of insurance. Look at the cost of medical. Look at the cost of you pay the office facility. Look at the cost that you pay the staff that works in the office. So there's a lot people don't know. So people assume that maybe like using your word, you pay 20,000 naira, you pay the guard 18,000 naira, you take 8,000. No, it's not done that way. There's a lot that goes to operational operations of gas services, or a lot. In fact, a lot of us we are not making money at all. A lot of us run on losses. And I've said that you can come and check our books or go to any company and check. As I'm talking to you right now, we are not collecting jobs because the economy is not smiling on our clients, on us. For example, how do you expect me to take a job of 30,000 naira in this present economy, and you expect me to pay the guard 60% of 30,000 naira? How does he go to work? How does he feed himself? How does he pay the children's school fees? How does he pay for his house rent? How does he take care of himself? Within the 60% of the 30,000 want to pay. So it's not that client pays you X amount and you just chose to give the guards what you like. No, there's a lot of indices, there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of things that goes with it. So people just assume. And sometimes for me personally, because like I said, work as a guard, I explain to the guards and they understand what we're doing. The uniform alone, to kit a guard today from toe to head or from head to toe, the cap, the shirt, the trouser, the boots, everything the guard is wearing, it costs. And this guy cannot wear this thing sometimes more than 4 months. It wears out and you change it again. And when you are changing it, you are not asking the client to pay. So there's a lot. But what government specifies us to pay is 60%. Why we take 40 to run the company? And unfortunately, we find out that the 60% is small and we're paying 75%, sir. So that's the situation we find ourselves.
Okay, let's look at monitoring of the security personnel. Sometimes particularly those who are posted to residential areas, are found to have compromised and become accomplice to crime. So what's the security firms doing to check this?
Unfortunately, again, that's the human factor I always that comes with this job. What we try to do with our own is the fact that when we're employing you, we make sure, apart from doing a proper background checks, we make sure that somebody that is going to sign for you, or that's going to stand for you as a guarantor, is somebody we can hold responsible. And we tell your guarantor, sir, somebody have sent your name and your contact to us that you are going to guarantee him in case of any misbehavior, in case of any theft in a location. So what he does is that put fear in the guards' hearts. Unfortunately, human being being what they are, they always want to do their own. See, guys, it's not just only in Nigeria, across the world where human being works. For those of us who have been an employer for over the years, the problem we always have is employee, good employee. I only tell people that I was an employee in the past and I gave my best. When you assign me a job, I do it first of all, understanding that my family have a value, and I have a name to my family value. And first of all, I have integrity to protect. A lot of Nigerians today don't think like that. Rather, what they are thinking is how to survive. They assume that, okay, you are rich, you have money, so you are using, so I need to make money by all means. Okay. People don't want to follow the process anymore. People don't want to do what they're supposed to do, to wait for their own time. So if the guards are trained, sometimes I give them motivational talk. I get my guards to understand that this job you are doing is not the end of the world for you.
I like that.
You can be doing this job and you can be doing this job and you'll be schooling.
All right.
And at the end of the day, you become a better person.
All right.
So I put my life on the ground for my guards, for them to understand that I was a guard. My father didn't have money to send me to school. But today, look at, I've traveled to 10 states in the US. I've been to UK severally. I've done so many courses. So look at me. Today, you are interviewing me on national TV. So if I've not prepared myself as a guard, would I be able to speak?
Okay.
So the question here is that people need to understand that there's a process in life.
There's a process. Let me just cut in at that point, because sometimes your personnel are overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed psychologically, they are overwhelmed physically. Who are they in the scheme of things? That's the assumption, to talk to some people. Now, when you have instances where your personnel are overwhelmed, can they call for reinforcement from other law enforcement agencies? Is there that handshake there?
There's none, but we as an organization have tried to put it in place. For example, when I'm working in a particular community, what I do is I report to the nearest police station there that we have a location here. In case there's any emergency or in case there's any distress, please don't ignore our call. But again, sir, don't forget the system. Guys, listen. We have issue in Nigeria. Anybody that do not believe that person have an issue itself. We have issues about security in Nigeria, especially when it comes to public security. Today, even the public security themselves, they don't have interrelationship. They find it difficult to work with one another. That's why you see LASMA fighting the army fighting the police fighting the navy. So who are we, the guards, the normal? They see us as a bloody civilians. But don't forget that we are over 5 million. We have over 5 million personnel across Nigeria. So why are you not working with the personnel that we have? We have made our notions known to the government and to the police and to the DSS and to all the to the authority. We have had seminars. We have had so many conferences where these people are brought together and held, for us to say, let's have private security and public security working together. But after the seminar, communiques are given, papers are passed, but nothing is done. Guys, I'm talking as an authority in this industry. I'm talking as a man who has been in this business for past 23 years, as a man who started this job. I was 23 when I started this job. 23 years old. So I beat my chest to say today, yeah, listen guys, the truth here is that it is a tough business. It is a tough terrain. It is very tough, because for me to have gotten my license as young as that age and be approved to run this business, it means that has an integrity. So what I want to know, answer your question, it is difficult working with the Nigerian police. Sometimes, for example, issues happen in our location, you go and tell the police what happened. The first thing they do is to arrest the guard. Instead of listening to say, okay, what really happened? When your staff comes there, they arrest your staff again. The next thing they say, come and bail. And when they say come and bail, you are the one that went to report a case in your location. You are the one arrested, and you are the one they are asking to come and bail again. And what's the essence of that bail? Because of the money they want to collect from you. I'm saying this on national TV. Let them call also to a roundtable discussion if it's not happening. When you're trying to tell a policeman you're a security consultant and this is where you are working, you say, my friend, go and sit down. They talk to you like like you are a non-entity, or like don't know what you are doing. And this is just ordinary a corporal or a sergeant who, before he took up the job, you have been doing the job for years.
Okay, well,
If
in regards to this, we still understand that while we may have other security agencies, but the police is still the authority in Nigeria when it comes to protection of lives and property of the citizens. And so other agencies or other layers of security, whether private, must come to work in synergy. So to ensure a smooth partnership, what would need to happen regarding the regulatory framework or some form of arrangement? What should happen to ensure respect of each other's boundary and to provide that enabling environment for a strong partnership, smooth, strong partnership?
Yeah, for me, I think if we have considered the people we have to protect, if we have considered the people we need to make sure they are safe, what should come to our mind as people, either private or public police, is the fact that we need to have a synergy. We need to be able to pass an information that we have a core duty, which is to protect the life and property of Nigerian citizens. Whether I'm being paid directly to do the job and you as a policeman, you are being paid by government to do that job. What should come to our mind first of all is the professionalism. Are we professional enough as people to want to do this job? Do we see this job as a career, or do we see it as no, I don't have a job, let me just pick it and do it as a job? No.
Okay.
So I think what should come is that we should sit down, we should agree on methodology on how we can able to sit down, pass information to them, process the information and use it, and able to respect one another. See, I think I need to say this from what I've observed over the years in this business, is the fact that some people just want to come across that we are the one doing it. Just like you said, yeah, police has been mandated. They are the one that are number one police, civil, to protect life and property. But they can't do it alone. In every part of the world, mark my words, there's no police organization has been successful without the people or without the private organizations, because they are not witches and wizards. Okay. They need information from every nook and cranny. So that's why they need to calm down. Okay. That's why they need to work with people. That's why they need to understand people.
All right. Let me allow you to take a breather. Let me allow you to take a breather now. Then we'll come back and complete the interview. Please don't go anywhere. It's still early exchange and we're still talking security. Thank you. Welcome back. We're still having a talk about the role of private security outfits in securing lives and property. And we're still speaking to Richard Amua. Richard, good morning once again. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, there is this talk that private security, outfits are just some kind of retirement plan for old people, so to speak, because most of the time, the class of people that are seen manning the gates as private security are old men, some of whom don't have the energy to do this job again. Is there no age limit, age restriction? Is it an all-comers affair, basically maybe because of affordability? I wouldn't know, really. Hello. Okay. A glitch there. I have discovered.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I was asking, why do we have old men most times being the people that are recruited to join the private guards? Okay. We'll have you back when the issue is resolved. Because more often than not, the ones you see manning the gates, the ones you see opening the gate to you, the ones you see securing your estate, so to speak, are old people. And you begin to ask yourself, is this some kind of retirement plan for old people? Because where is the energy to be a guard at 60?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what the criteria is regarding the age cap.
He's back. I think he's back. All right. Richard, you can go on now.
You see, for me, I don't employ old men.
It's not about you. It's not about you alone. You are just one person. That's the practice.
I'm coming. I'm coming to that. Even our association, we are trying to tell our members, no, not so, because there's a lot of risk involved in employing such old people, and the risk has to do with the fact that they could collapse, they could die on duty, and anything can happen. That could be heart attack. So it is a risk even for any organization trying to use all those old men. I can assure you that most of old men you see, they are not from private organizations. They are employed by individuals, especially the schools. The school authority, they actually uses all those old men. For me, I've challenged them over time that no, you can't be using all these old men to do this job. So it's not about private security alone. It is about individuals who are using them.
All right, let's talk about enforcing security. It is not enough to just have guards wearing uniform. But what about the permission to carry arms? Do private security personnel have the permission to carry arms? And without the permission to carry arms, can they effectively do their job?
Well, that's the unfortunate thing. We don't have permission to carry arms, and we as an association, we have gone to the National Assembly over the time through civil defense. Don't forget that civil defense, Nigerian security and civil defense, they are the one that regulate us. They are the authority that monitors our activities. Over time, we have gone to the National Assembly to say, hey, allow us to carry our men to carry arms. But it's been rejected. And again, you're not going to blame them, because even among the public security that carries arms, you could see how they are misusing it, and because of the kind of insecurity in Nigeria today. So I think it all depends on what government wants, because there's no way you can say you are providing security in a volatile situation like Nigeria, in a volatile place like Nigeria, and you do that with just a baton or with wisdom. So all we do as guards is to be proactive. We don't allow it to happen. We try more to be proactive in our dealings. That's the first thing we teach the guard, because if you allow it to happen, you cannot control it. But if you are proactive before it happens, you can easily report it, and the police with armed police, we take charge.
So basically, from what you said, what the private security firms do is surveillance.
Not just surveillance. Like I said, being proactive is not just surveillance. Somebody who is coming with gun, or somebody who is coming to attack a location, and you have nothing. There's nothing you can do. That I said that when you are in that location, the first thing you do, or all you do, is to make sure that activities around that location is safe, and you take note of people that comes and go. Don't forget that when you are guarding a place, it's not about the external aggression alone. It's even about the staff of that organization, because a lot are taken out, a lot of things happen, and the management said that those things need to be checkmate. So it all depends on your organizational role in that place, and that's why you see us sometimes we have armed policemen working with us. In most big establishments, you must see 1 or 2 policemen working with the private guard in their facility.
All right. On the very last note, because we have run out of time, are your men allowed to be aggressive with suspects? Why am I asking this? I stumbled on a particular scene where a private security person was slapping a suspect. Yes, I wouldn't know. It was still a suspect at that point. What happens to ethical practices? Is there a provision for you to, ensure that they have this human face? Because by the nomenclature of security, they think they are empowered to go all the way and slap and hit. Is this allowed?
It's not allowed. Even a policeman is not allowed to slap anybody. There's a current training where that was early last year. That was human rights. That every guard must be trained on human rights. Because if a guard misbehaves in a location and a civilian who knows his right can go and sue the company, because the guard will bring the company to have issue with the civilian, and the company does not want to have such disputes with a civilian. So we'll be training our guards on the issue of human rights. No guard, like I said, or even a policeman have right to slap. You have no right to be aggressive. Everybody still remains a suspect until he's proven guilty.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The problem we have is that people always do their own thing, which is very wrong. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Richard Amuwa, Managing Director, Mega Guard Services Limited, for talking to us about the place of private security in securing the full country, complementing security architecture that we have, and providing security for businesses and also individuals. We appreciate your time with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it's a wrap on Early Exchange today. Thank you for watching. I hope that you've learned how to be security conscious. You must be aware of your environment. And if you see something, of course, say something. There are toll numbers you can call for the Nigerian Police, for the NSCDC, and ensure that you do your part in ensuring that security is provided for everyone. Because if you turn your eye, you never know how that could impact you. If you turn your eye away, you never know how that could impact you in the long run. I'm Blessing Aiche. At 10 o'clock, Olaoluwa Aware will bring you business insights.
And I am Ayo Jimmy. Thank you for being part of the show from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. You said I should see something and say something.
Yes.
I see your dress is nice. I'm saying
thank you.
All right,
we're
here tomorrow, God willing. Don't go anywhere. Olaoluwa will be here 10 a.m. today for Business Insight. Thank you very much. Stay blessed.